There's only one story really that everyone's talking about this week, and it's Mandelson Gate. It's convulsing Westminster and Holyrood, I would say. And it's hard to know where it begins. I've made a wee list of all the allegations against Lord Mandelson. So we already knew that he'd continued his friendship with the disgraced paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, but US DOJ files released this week are even worse for Mandelson. Basically, they show that he apparently leaked sensitive financial information to Epstein when he was a minister in Gordon Brown's government, and this was after Epstein's conviction, that he tried to water down the banker's bonus policy at the behest of Epstein, and that there were multiple payments apparently to Mandelson and his partner from Epstein. So it's an absolute bin fire for Mandy. He's quit as a Labour member. He's quit the House of Lords. There's a police investigation. Starmer wants to strip him of his title. He's described Mandelson as betraying his country and his party. Now, Smitty, even if half of these things are true, I mean, most scandals in politics, you look back on them a couple of years later, you think, was that maybe much to do about nothing? But I mean, this has all the makings of being one of the great political scandals of the last 50 years.
Of course, you missed out his worst crime.
What was that?
Those white Speedos in the pictures. My word, that alone should have him in jail. You know what I mean? For crimes against men's fashion, you know. But that apart, who could have guessed that that the guy who used to be portrayed as a snake on Spitting Image turned out to be a complete snake? You know, who could have guessed such a thing? Obviously, he's just an absolute wrong'un. Always was. I mean, he was at the sharp end of Blairism, you know, and let's be honest, there was a lot of charlatans involved in that particular political project about lots of things. I mean, the minute he said years ago he was relaxed about people being filthy rich, you kind of knew where he was coming from. He's a man who likes to surround himself with rich people. He likes to use his power and knowledge to extract advantage for himself. But by far the worst thing he's done in all of those things, including his white pants, is basically selling out his Labour colleagues for personal gain.
When Gordon Brown brought him back, he didn't have to, brought him back, probably against his better judgment, trusted him, and then Mandelson's been leaking all these documents to Epstein and other people. I mean, it just looks absolutely outrageous.
I mean, I'm kind of admitting this. I don't think anyone should be surprised. I mean, the stench of scandal has followed Mandelson right through his career.
Really. Two resignations from Blair's government.
I mean, why Brown brought him back? The pair of them seemingly don't like each other, but you know, you've got to. I know we'll come on to Sir Keir, but you've got to question Gordon Brown's judgment and bring him back into office. And I mean, the whole thing. It's like you say, it's one of the old timers. It really is, and it's just awful. But it's not surprising because Mandelson is, as Smithy says, a snake. And I mean, just all these Epstein files. It's just so depressing. Kind of how deep it goes, and I just find the whole thing really quite distressing. And to know that he was feeding sensitive information, government information, to this sex offender
after conviction.
Well, I think that's always the thing. I think if you're pals with Epstein before it, I mean, I still think you've got questions to answer, but you know, at least you could turn and say, well, you know, as soon as he get convicted. But for Mandelson to stay friendly with him,
also from a BT email account. I mean, what's the security on that?
It's just, it's actually mind-boggling, and he's, you know, in some ways, right now, obviously there's a police investigation going, but it's not him that's going to need to deal with the immediate fallout. It's going to be his Labour colleagues, and obviously it creates a horrendous narrative for them.
Ruth, apart from the awful photographs, which could put us all in therapy for decades, what are your thoughts on this mega scandal?
Yeah, I think I seriously don't understand how somebody at that level of government is tied up in the Epstein files, and the fact that he's allegedly been given information to this notorious paedophile it's scandalous. It's scandalous. It's really not okay. And him being reported to the police, I do hope that they investigate it thoroughly and that we get justice if that is true. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these things tend to be, when political scandals are up, they tend to get swept under the carpet. You get these like internal investigations, and they don't really amount to a hill of beans. But there does seem to be a determination that he's done wrong here, and he's going to pay a price.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely, and that feeling is coming from primarily, I think, his former comrades in the Labour Party, his former friends in the Labour Party, who were obviously responsible for his career, for bringing him back twice, in fact 3 times. So that's, I think, where a lot of the anger is coming from within the Labour Party, whether they can present themselves to the voters as having been, having handled this correctly from the start remains to be seen. And I think that's where the political fallout is going to land now.
Thing is, you read Starmer's statement today that he says that Mandelson betrayed his country and betrayed his party. I bet you if you're Mandelson reading that, it's the party bit that really stings.
Oh yeah, don't forget Mandelson was from a Labour background. His dad was a very prominent Labour figure. He's steeped in Labour Party history. He very early on, obviously, adopted the sort of Blairite approach to Labour politics and was an integral pillar of New Labour. You can't downplay his role in getting Labour elected after many years in the wilderness and keeping them elected, keeping them in power. He was an integral part of that. So it's not an easy matter for the Labour Party just to cast him out of darkness. But Starmer's right. He's to condemn him entirely and to use terms such as betrayal, because the only way Starmer's going to get clear of all this is if he puts a lot of distance between him and Mandelson.
That's the thing, Doug, isn't it? So Mandelson's a political corpse. He's dead. He's not coming back. I think the focus is now on the Prime Minister because he was the one that appointed Mandelson to be the UK's man in Washington. And there was an admission, I think, in the Commons today that he made that decision knowing about an ongoing relationship between Epstein and Mandelson. The Prime Minister says that Mandelson lied about the extent of it, but I mean, Starmer's going to get bogged down now in investigations in relation to the appointment. All these texts, emails are going to come out from Mandelson to the ministers, to special advisors. It's hard to see an end in sight.
And he actually should get bogged down. He's brought this on himself. I've got zero sympathy for Sir Keir Starmer. His judgment, I think, what does it say about his judgment that he gave Mandelson this role in the first place? Mandelson's been the expert of the political comeback. As I said earlier, it baffles me that he's been able to do it so many times when he's obviously damaged goods. I know what Smitty's saying about him, the integral role he played in New Labour, but that was 29 years ago or whatever. It just, Sir Keir Starmer has massive questions to answer. And let's be honest here, Sir Keir Starmer has been hopeless in government for nearly 2 years now. But this might be the worst thing that he's done. Of all the mistakes he's made, of everything that could have engulfed him, I think this is the one. I think this could bring Sir Keir Starmer down. I think it's that bad. It's, as you say, this isn't some Westminster bubble thing. This is cracking out of it. This is getting out of there. People are outraged at this, and rightly so, that we should send that, this paedophile's pal to represent us in Washington. It's absolutely outrageous. And quite frankly, Sir Keir Starmer should also be a political corpse after this. It shouldn't just be Peter Mandelson.